Hockey's back, baby. We are 3 games into the preseason. We played our rookie tournament, and we're starting to get an idea for who's going to be on this next Sharks team and get a view of the future to come. Let's talk about what we've seen so far on this episode of View from Outside the Tank. All right, guys. So we've seen some pretty awesome stuff and some pretty less than awesome stuff in these first few games. I'm excited for a new season of Sharks hockey, and we're going to have a lot of young, exciting talent. And we've certainly been showcasing a lot of, at least the young part of that. The first game against the Golden Knights that we won, it looked like the makings of an NHL roster, but the 2 games since have definitely been more of a CUDA roster and possibly even an ECHL roster. Who knows? We've seen some good things and we've seen some bad things. I'm excited for the state of our goaltending after 2 games or 3 games now. It looks a lot better than it has in the past, but again, it's just preseason hockey, so it's hard to pull any information from this. But a duo of Askey and Ned looks like a pretty good tandem. I think we could probably use a better third, but I'm also excited for what that means for the Barracuda, because between Carrier and Davis, I think they're going to have a really solid tandem down there as well. What else have we seen? I think that you've seen that Misa is ready to go. I don't know that he's going to be on the same nearly point per game pace that Mac was on last year, but he looks like he's ready to play NHL hockey. He's defensively committed, and with his offensive talent, the points will come in time. I think you're going to see something along the lines of a Will Smith season redux, except that he'll get the defensive side far better than Will did last year. So you'll see a few months at the beginning that are probably pretty slow points wise. And then as he starts to figure things out and figure out where spaces are and things like that, you'll see him really improve his game. What else have we seen? I think Dickinson's ready. We have way too many defensemen on the roster right now. And so I think some things are going to need to change before the start of the season to really get Dickinson the ice time he deserves. But between Dickinson and Misa, I don't think that it does them any service to send them back to juniors. Had we not signed Misa to his ELC, then maybe a year of college would have helped him. But with that being out of the picture, there's no reason not to have both of those guys on the roster. But let's talk about a couple of soft crushes I have on the team. I think Luca Cagnoni, Cags, if you will, he's going to be a real good one for us. I don't think that you're ever going to look at him as a top pairing defenseman, and I don't think you need to. But I think you've seen some better, or at least more engaged defense from him. The points are going to come because he's just an outstanding offensive defenseman. And I think if we get a Boiler 2.0, then I think we're doing pretty well. I don't think the Boyle was particularly great at defense, but he was really good at offense, and had a good balance to his game because of that. So I think that you're going to get that. I see Cags as being a future second pairing defenseman. And if we're lucky enough that we have 2 left shot defensemen ahead of him and he's a third pairing and helps out on the power play, then life's good. The other one that I don't think we talk about nearly enough is Ethan Cardwell. He was a late pick. He's a fellow podcaster, so that's exciting for me. Or at least was a fellow podcaster. Now that he has to take hockey more seriously, I don't think he's doing it much anymore. But he is exactly the DNA you want for that third line guy. I think that when it really gets down to it, and we see some of these lines start to build out, our top 2 lines are definitely going to be scoring lines anchored by really good two-way centermen with Misa and with Mac. And then I think that you get into your third line, and that's going to be a little bit different. You want that to be a line that you can roll out there and hold the top line from another team, get their minutes in, and be able to funnel some guys from that line to the PK, so that you don't have guys in lines 1 and 2 that are skating way too much throughout the game. And I think Cards is one of those guys. I think that he is stellar defensively. He's already proven to be a good penalty killer. I think right now he plays well with Bstat, but I can see some future pairings that could work out well for him as well. I don't think that he needs to be on the roster right now, but I think a first or second line role with the Barracuda to start the season, to really get him the minutes he needs to further develop that game. You're looking at maybe 2 years down the road, him being an anchor of that third line, and that third line possibly being the difference maker between us being a fringe playoff team and us being a team that can look at, aiming for, at worst, the conference finals every year. He's that good. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe it's because he's a podcaster that I think so highly of him, but I don't think so. I think he really is that good. What else did we see? We saw that our minor league hockey team probably can't compete with an NHL level hockey team. It's not that Anaheim last night started all starters. They certainly didn't, but they were probably running at about 75% of their actual lineup. They've already cut down their roster. I guess they were saying during the game last night, they've already cut their roster down into the 20s or at least low 30s, and we're still sitting with 50 people on the roster. They're much further along in having whatever the roster is going to look like going into the season. It showed yesterday. But that being said, we weren't exactly a comeback team last year, and obviously we didn't complete the comeback, but to get down 3-0 and have it happen fairly quickly and to turn that into just a 3-2 loss speaks volumes for the compete and the grit that this team possesses. What else? We're seeing a little bit of, the Warsawski system really come into place. I hope that he's given the time to fully execute everything that he wants to do. Everybody looked at, not everybody, a lot of people looked at it as sort of a retread because you were taking an assistant off of a coaching staff where you were firing the head coach. And so they didn't really understand. The guy's a winner. And I think that he would have been the head coach over David Quinn when David Quinn got hired, if only he had had any NHL experience. Now he has that. He's young, he's fiery, he's ready to go. It's sort of reminding me of, when Kevin Constantine came up in 93. Like, obviously he didn't have the same success the first year because we didn't make the playoffs and upset a team that nobody should have beat. But you can see the system starting to come into place. I think I would be a little happier with better assistance, but maybe that's just me being picky and not really knowing what they're trying to do. But I think that that's something where you have to ride the wave. We're going to get there eventually, and it's just a matter of time before we do. Other things that we've seen, Delandria and Goody kind of look like crap, at least the second game. Delandria looked okay last night, but those are two guys that you don't need them to be something special, but you need them to at least be good enough to keep the guys in the AHL that need to get that AHL seasoning. And right now, I don't know that either of those guys are doing that. Now, there's something to be said for it's the preseason, so there are probably guys mailing it in. Like, even in the first game, you could see shifts where Toffoli was going all out, and then shifts where he was like, this is a preseason, I'm not going to hurt myself. And so maybe with some hope, that's what's happening with Goody and Delandria. But they need to play well enough to hold off the kids so that the kids can get the ice time they need in the A, and they're ready to go maybe as early as next season. Right now, it's not that, and you hope that it gets there soon. What other things happened this week? Well, we saw another throwback jersey that I am super pumped about. It's throwing back to the, I believe, 97-98 season, when they rolled out a new jersey that year. It's got the old Shark logo up front, which is nothing to say nothing bad about the new Sharks logo. I love the new Sharks logo. I think there's more depth to it, but there's something about the old Sharks logo that just strikes a chord with me. It's also, sort of reminiscent of when the team really started that run of 20 seasons of fantastic hockey, where I think we missed the playoffs twice in 20 seasons. And so you hope, selfishly, I think they're still going to miss the playoffs this year. I don't think necessarily we should even be hoping for them to make the playoffs this year, because I think one more good high pick would really seal the deal. But I think that using this jersey is a way almost to harken back to that jumping off point for the franchise. I don't know if it's meant to be symbolic, but it certainly feels like it could work out that way. Love the jerseys. Love how the team looks at them. They're going to be fun to see out on the ice. I hope that doesn't mean that the Cali fin goes away. It's definitely a jersey that I love. I love all the meaning behind it. So I'm hoping that, that just means we're rolling 4 different jerseys this year instead of 3. I think ultimately, as also a soccer fan, it'd be more fun to almost see it be soccer like, where every year you get new jerseys, but nobody wants to spend that kind of money. So probably won't happen. What else happened this week? Well, last night I had a fantasy hockey draft. So Mike Greer, look out. It's only a matter of time before I take your job. It's with an old friend of mine that, moved out of the area, but he was able to get 9 other dopes. Well, himself, me, and 8 other dopes to sign up to play. And I hope I had a good draft. I'm excited to be playing fantasy hockey again. I played 1 year and won far too handily, and nobody wanted to play again. So I'm hoping that doesn't repeat itself this time around. I certainly don't think it will. So that's exciting as well. What other things do we have? We've seen some things this week, some rumblings about the Coyotes coming back. That could be a big deal, at least for me here in Arizona. If they're able to make that work, then all of a sudden I have an easier opportunity to see my team at least a couple times a year, which would be nice. What else have I been thinking about this week? Well, I alluded to it a little bit. I am a big soccer fan, and I keep thinking, especially with Warsaw, you have a lot of coaches that have been around a long time, and a lot of the systems are exactly the same. Nobody's really changing the systems. And he's young enough and adaptable enough that I think he could change the system a little bit. And so I see a future where on-ice product takes almost I don't know, soccer feel to it. Are there ways to execute plays in hockey sort of the way they do in soccer? And, like, you can't do it from an overall standpoint. The ice is smaller. You got people on skates. That's much harder to control than being on, cleats. But I've been a Liverpool fan for a while, and I got to really get into it at its highest level when Jurgen Klopp was in charge. And he had this idea or these 2 ideas of playing out from the back and what was called gegenpressing. Playing out from the back, I think, especially now, you've got 2 goalies on your roster that like to play the puck probably too much. But, is there a way to create a system that allows even mediocre players to quickly exit the zone and get the puck going towards the offensive zone? I think that's something that could be looked at and implemented more. Is there a way where your centerman drops in sort of as the holding midfielder set, your defensemen kind of go out to the wings, and then all of a sudden you're passing out and up and you're in the offensive zone ready to play? And the other idea is gegenpressing. I think that we have some youth with some legs now. I want to see a more aggressive forecheck. I'd like to see a more aggressive penalty kill. You're going to have tired legs, but we're finally developing enough talent where you don't need your top line guys to play 25 minutes a game. If you can get them into that 18 to 22 range and then, dial back a little bit each from there, your guys should have the legs to be able to play that style of hockey. 2 years ago was bad. we weren't good and we didn't look good. And last year, we weren't good, but we were fun to watch. And so now it's taking that next step, whatever that step happens to be, and probably still being bad, but working on the things that are going to get us to that next level. You know, I've been fortunate to watch some really good hockey teams, and I've seen where that growth starts because I've seen some really bad hockey teams also. And I think we're there. And I'm super excited for what the future of Sharks hockey is. And as much as I'm excited for the next couple preseason games, it's mostly because I'm excited for them to be over because I'm ready for regular season hockey. And I'm ready to show the rest of the league that we may not win a lot, but we're not going to be the guaranteed 2 points for everybody else that they thought we were. I'm pumped to see the continued growth of Mac and Will. I'm excited to see what Misa can do in his first season, what Dickinson can do in his first season, what Askarov can do in his first season as a starter. You know, because we've got goalie depth, and I want to see how deep that depth really is. You know, if he's the real deal, then we are set for a very long time. So I don't know. You know, I'm excited for the next week just to see what else happens. I'm excited to get into real game action. I'm excited to be able to talk about the positives and negatives, and I'm excited to talk about how that relates to what we may have already seen before. So I'm happy you're here, and leave me some notes in the comment section if you have any questions that you want me to answer in future episodes. Find us on social media. I'll get all the details for that for you in my comments, because there's a couple links that are different than just our main name. And more than anything, like, subscribe, and share. I want to be in front of as many eyes as I can to talk about the thing I love so much. Thanks for being here and taking another look at my view from outside the tank. I'm Matt, and I'll see you next week.